Hey, this is YC, and today I'm going to talk about the Amazon Associates program, aka the affiliate program, the world's leading affiliate program, I think. Amazon, give my 5-year review because I've been in the program for 5 years, so I think I have something to say about it at this point. That's why I'm doing this podcast. It's just to make a few comments here and there about the program for anybody that hasn't tried it and maybe thinking about trying the program, or other people that have been in the program and just want to hear what someone else thinks about the program. So yeah, I'm going to talk about some pros and cons and then that's it. And then I'll shut her down. I'm not sure how long this is going to take because I may or may not go into a rant, but we'll see. Anyway, so let's start with the pros of the program. It's pretty easy to join, I guess. You just sign up and you need a website and you have to submit it. And then they check out your website. And if your website isn't a total piece of shit, they generally approve you. I guess that's my experience. And I've had 2 accounts with the program, but I've have one main one that I've had for 5 years and I've never had it shut down. So that's something that some people worry about with the program, is that they're going to get their account shut down, which happens, I guess, if you break their rules too much. And they can do it like very unexpectedly, which I guess I should save for the cons because that's not really a positive thing about the program. But yeah, for pros, it's like anybody can join it. It's easy, and then you can get started within. As soon as even before you're approved, I think they give you some access to the dashboard, and you can mess with the tools. I think, like, you can try making a link. I think I could be wrong about that because I can't remember if there's some sort of a test mode for the program, but I'm pretty sure because I had a second account not too long ago that when I was doing stuff before I was even approved. But I think that was a gray area. So again, that goes into maybe a con, is that I didn't even know if I was in the program at that point. But okay, stick to the pros. Okay, so the pros, it's easy, quick to join. And then you basically just start making links. And so it goes back to the fact of your website. And if your website has some traffic and has some visitors, then you can monetize them by linking them to Amazon products. And that's all cool, that's the point of the program. So you're just helping people on Amazon sell their stuff and then getting a kickback from the products that you're leading people to. You're promoting the products in some way. So there's a number of different ways you can promote stuff via Amazon. They have a lot of different types of links that you can use. And I guess I won't get into the specific types of links, but there's a few different choices you have in order to promote things. So you can promote things in different styles. For instance, you could just you could do a review of a product and then link it, kind of like they do on YouTube now, where people talk about a product and then they have in the description the link to the Amazon page, and then if someone buys it, then the reviewer gets a small kickback. And when I say small, I guess another pro you could mention about the Amazon program is that it's not that small. So the kickbacks are between 1 and 10%, I think, is the range of commission percentiles. And you, depending on the category that your niche or your site topic deals with, then that's going to be kind of your bread and butter, where you pick a topic or a category and that's what you're going on about. And so those are the kinds of products you're going to be dealing with generally. So if you pick a shitty topic, or a topic that doesn't have a good commission from Amazon, then you're going to have to deal with that commission level for the entire time. But the other good thing is that Amazon, if someone buys something else, then you get a kickback of anything else that anyone buys. So that's another pro. But then a con is that I think they're doing away with that, or at least they did in the UK, or so I understand, and they might have even done that in the US now. So if Yeah, I'd have to look that up, but I heard about that. I heard a rumor that they were doing that, and people were complaining about it because that actually really sucks if they do that, because then it, well, at least to me, it sucks. I've heard that it has pros as well, because the idea is that you're supposed to really target people directly to certain products and stop, like, don't, if you're not targeting properly, then people will click on other things. And that point is not to click on other things, but to click on the thing that you've been leading them to, or that you have like got the traffic and you're trying to direct them somewhere. So that's sort of an issue, I think, to me, because a lot of my people, they just click on other random shit. And then if that rule is taken away, then I lose my commission, because they're saying that, oh, they didn't go to the product that you linked them to, so therefore you're not going to get a commission anymore, which sucks. So that's something that you'd want to look into as far as the current 2019 policies around that rule, as far as people clicking on things. So yeah, another thing about Amazon is they occasionally change abruptly their rules, and then if that happens, you have to deal with whatever their new rules are. So, and those are not necessarily good changes that get made in people's favor, because they're just changing their business model along with whatever they see fit to benefit them. So the problem can be that they could change your commission tier, for instance, and that could screw you, because say you make a whole site out of computer games, and then they change computer games from 6 to 1%, then you're basically stuck at 1% for the foreseeable future, which I think is what they did when they changed their commission tiers last year or a couple of years ago. And I remember that was like really traumatic for me, because all my products were in higher tiers and they went to lower tiers, except for I think one. So I basically lost on that, and it put me in a whole other bracket. So I was like starting to make progress, and at some point I was like knocked down, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, people Amazon has a forum, and this is, I guess, another pro/con. So I'm like naming the pros and the cons at the same time. But the pro is that they have forums, and you can talk to other people who have similar problems or have noticed similar things or whatever in the forums. But then the con is that the forums are unmoderated, and Amazon doesn't really chime in with any answers for you ever. So your options are basically to call them, and your call is just sort of an individual one-on-one thing with a sales rep or a customer service person, and those people aren't really I was going to say programmed, but they're not really paid, or they're not really in the know. They don't get to know all these super technical things. They know stuff about your account. They know stuff about basic rules to do with Amazon. So this is a kind of a pro, but a con again, is that they know certain things, but they also don't know other things. And so specific problems can be dealt with the customer service people. And you can escalate an issue, and it might get dealt with, or it might not. But the problem is that when they escalate things, you don't get to talk to anybody but a robot generally. Sometimes I've heard back from people on Amazon, like when there's customer service returning my call or returning my, like, addressing my query. So there are people that can respond, but generally speaking, you're not going to get a response directly from the person that you want to hear a response from. So say you're dealing with a really technical problem with your account, and it's sort of beyond the customer service people on the other end of the phone. They might try to escalate it for you, but then at the same time, you're not necessarily going to hear back from the tech person who needs to deal with whatever the problem is. So yeah, there's some technical problems that exist through the program that I can talk about, but I'm not going to, because I can talk about it in another video, I guess, or another audio, whatever thing. But at this moment, I guess it's too technical to get into all the technical problems, but suffice it to say that there are technical issues sometimes, and that can be a con. But the pro is that generally there aren't too many technical problems with their tracking and whatnot. Generally, it's fine, I think. But the fact that certain things can go wrong and it's mysterious and you can't actually figure out what's happening. This is over 5 years, right? So I've been in the program for a long time, And occasionally something will happen that I don't understand, and I'm confused, and I call them or I chat with them, and they don't know specifically what the problem is either. And they might even not admit that there is a problem, because I'll see it, but they'll say, oh, there's other factors involved in this, which is fair enough. There are other factors usually to go along with your problem that you might be having. But that's the thing. You don't have complete control over, what's happening with the program, or, the technical aspects of the tracking or anything like that. You just sort of have reports that you get that are better than most affiliate reports, I guess. But at the same time, you don't have complete control. So if you're a control freak, there's certain things you can do, but you can't do everything that you want to do. So there's certain things that I want to do that I can't quite do, but that's sort of limited to my technical limitations in some cases. So I can't, the one thing that I think is cool that I came across recently is the API for Amazon. So I can actually run scripts and use the API to retrieve product information, which is a cool thing that I have recently got into. And that's sort of helped a lot of things, because Amazon involves a lot of searching around through databases, and sometimes that takes forever. So if you're trying to do something at a certain scale, you're limited to your how many hours there are in a day, and how much manpower you have to do a certain task. So some tasks, when it comes to Amazon and selecting products and things, it takes a long time, and sometimes it's discouraging because you have to search through their database, and they have several databases actually. Like I've realized recently that I'm not sure if it's a con or a pro, but they have these two different databases, and I've dealt with both of these databases. Essentially, I think it's something to do with like the way you search on Amazon. There's a GP database, which is a general database, and then there's a DP, which is direct. And it has something to do with the sell. Like if you're a seller on Amazon, I think you probably have a better idea what this is, because it's a certain stream. But when you're getting links, sometimes the links link to GP, sometimes they link to DP, and there's something about that has significance, but I haven't heard them explain it to me properly so that I can do anything with that, because right now I'm dealing with a lot of GP products, and they don't work when I try to run things through the API. That's kind of a bit on a more technical level, and not really a beginner thing at all, but it's something that eventually, if you stick with the program and you kind of interact with Amazon and you try the API, because the API is available to anybody, you just have to kind of activate it, and that's its own process. But the fact that they have an API is fucking amazing. And also they have all these other sort of side programs, I guess you could call them, but the web services that go along with, they're not really pertaining to the affiliate program, I guess, necessarily, but they're available, and they have to do with just the overall function of Amazon. So there's things you can get into with Amazon. It's kind of like Google. There's all these different subdirectories of services that you can get through Amazon that are kind of cool, but you have to kind of dig for them. And I've just sort of started digging through them, so I'm not even really an expert on the grander scheme of Amazon stuff, because there's shit that it's like very unfamiliar to me, and I don't even know what the hell it is. But I'm sure someday, if I stick with the program long enough, I'll learn more and more about these things. So like Google itself, Amazon's a rabbit hole, and you can kind of go down it and sort of see how the business works. And it's been around long enough that there's a fairly complex infrastructure that goes along with the business. So, but at the same time, it's simple in a way, because you're just searching for products and you're shopping and you're using an algorithm to find things, and generally they're not hard to find. But there are little discrepancies that when you get down to the fine tuning level, it's actually maybe not as easy as you think, especially when you're manually doing certain things, because they offer several different ways to link things, like I said, and like they would include, Associate Central is the main hub where you get the links, but then there's also the site stripe, and then there's different things, like there's like the one link, which is for the geo targeting thing, which I'm not really a fan of, but it exists. So they try to offer a lot of different things. Like the site stripe is very convenient, but for a while I was sort of questioning the, let's say the not legitimacy, but the functionality of site stripe was somewhat in question to me, because I have this thing with redirect links that basically freaks me out, because I don't think they're necessarily the most dependable links. When there's a link that's a short link, or just some sort of, link that's been, cosmetically altered to be more attractive. A lot of times those are redirects, and that's not, or a mirror link, I guess they're called, but essentially just a link to another link, which links to this other thing. But the problem with that is that, if your tracking code doesn't stick with that link, then you have a problem, because you're not tracking your sales. So I guess I'll throw in a few more pros. I've just been rambling here, but a few more pros, and then I'll do a few more cons, and then I'll wrap it up. But essentially, pros, again, are that it's a simple program to join. It's simple to set up links. It's simple to actually, if your website's good, then it's easy to make money with the program, because it's theoretically a very simple process. You've got the traffic, Amazon has the products, and if you have traffic that likes products of any kind, generally Amazon has that covered. Another thing is their higher tier commission payouts are pretty decent. So if you're doing like a luxury beauty, for instance, it's a good deal to actually be in that business, or that line of products, because it's 10% last time I checked. And, anything above 6, I think, is pretty decent compared to other programs, which are like 2 or 3 across the board or something like that. This doesn't compare with things like ClickBank, which is a totally different model, I guess. But, as far as affiliate programs linking to some, kind of like compare it to Walmart, I guess, which I'm not entirely super familiar with Walmart. I just joined it, but the commission rates seem higher with Amazon. And so they used to have this thing that was called, what was it called? That they got rid of, that it was actually amazing, because it was something that, I can't remember. But essentially what it meant was the more products you sold, the more commission you would have per product, because it was an incentive to sell more products, because then you would get a higher commission as you sold more products, which was awesome. But then they just got rid of it at some point. So things like that just vanish. I mean, and even if I don't know where they announce these things, but I hear about them on affiliate marketing groups and things like that, where they're just like, hey guys, heads up, Amazon just ditched this, or they just changed this, or they just did this. So that's not the best way to hear about things. And I think that's a con, because, it's sort of like they just change their system suddenly, and then the affiliates kind of get screwed over because of, not necessarily being prepared for whatever change it was. It wasn't like basically, I'd say their affiliate program's good, but they essentially don't really, they're not like treating their affiliates like they're, royalty or anything. They're basically ignoring them in a lot of ways. They have their phone lines are open, but now they have it so that you, if you call their phone line, you have to deal with Amazon customer service. Like the last time I called, this is a recent change, but you used to be able to call the affiliate program directly and deal with affiliate concerns. But now you're dealing with customer service, and you have to get redirected to the affiliate program, which is really stupid, because now I have to like last time I called them, there was all this confusion. Like, who are you trying to get a hold of? I'm like, are you kidding me? This is the affiliate phone number that I've been calling for years, and now it's just regular customer service. They're like, the affiliate program? I'm like, yeah, the fucking affiliate program, buddy. Like, put me through. And so anyway, so things like that maybe are not great, that the affiliates are kind of not necessarily their main concern, even though I'm sure the affiliates make them quite a bit of money. I know that I do a pretty good job making Amazon money, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still not it's like there's other parts of Amazon, just like the store, that makes, $1 trillion, zillion dollars or whatever. So that's the thing, is that the affiliates are still sort of small potatoes in the scheme of Amazon, ends up making them kind of take a back seat and have to just sort of get shocked every once in a while when there's a policy change. Your account can get shut down sometimes, depending on if you're ignoring something, and you might not even know about it because if you're not reading their sort of legalese documents that are kind of dry and whatever, if you're not reading all their policy documents, which are available, but you have to root through all these documents to see what all the rules are and understand them properly. And if you want a human just to explain it to you, there's not really anyone to do that unless you want to just call them every day and try to get them to translate or explain all their rules that they have. And there's a lot of rules. So, at the same time, it's pretty simple. Don't be spammy and just don't be an asshole. There's rules that you would never guess, I guess, that seem to be a little misleading, such as, they have there's Amazon buttons you can use that are not legit. Like, for instance, if you go on and you search Amazon buy button on Google Images, you'll find an Amazon buy button, and then you can use it, but it's not according to like their, it's not policy compliant, I guess, because it's just some random Amazon button someone made. It's not specifically handed to you from Amazon. So it's a JPEG, and they beef with using non-policy compliant images and things like that. So you're best to use just their codes and things like that. But I've always historically used just my own calls to action, generally just with text, but now it's more tables. And that's kind of the thing, is that when you're playing around with the calls to action, you have to sort of study them to see what's going to work the best in your case. And there's no real guide for that. It's just mainly you have to trial and error, figure out what is the best way to convert people over to Amazon. And if you're kind of OCD like me, like literally have sort of compulsions around checking and counting things that like I do, I get kind of obsessed with the clicks that you get and then the sales that you make and basically your conversion rate. Everything gets you sort of stare at numbers a lot and just try to like figure them out, because if things don't seem to add up, you start to freak out or whatever, what have you. There's just certain things that, if you stare too hard at certain things, they stop making sense because, well, at least in my case, it's like the partial insanity gets in the way of being a good marketer, just because I'm trying to understand how all the metrics go together, and then I'll look and I'll be like, that doesn't make sense. Like, that was higher and then now it's lower, and then this thing sold but then it was returned, but this thing, I know they clicked it but then they didn't buy it. And I was sure, you just start second guessing everything, and then Amazon becomes a little bit crazier because you don't trust certain numbers. So you really have to trust the system. And sometimes the system, honestly, maybe it shouldn't be trusted in that case, because in some cases, because there are faulty things that I've come across in 5 years where I have no solid answer as to why they happened. But there generally is reasons. Like, for instance, here's an example of something that isn't Amazon's fault, I don't think, anymore, but I used to think it was their fault. Essentially, I had two ad networks going together, or kind of competing with each other. So there was Amazon and there was Mediavine. And this is still the case, but it's changing now because I'm sort of taking them out of conflict, because say you have two different types of ads on your page that you have, and they're both trying to convert someone in some way, and they're interfering with the content, because the flow of the content gets interrupted by the ads. And if you're using two ad networks, then basically your ads kind of get in the way of your content, and then your content is compromised because it looks hideous, and then you have to deal with like worse conversions because if there's too many ads, it looks brutally horrible. And so I had these two ad sort of networks going up against each other on my pages, because I had basically asked for it. I wanted Amazon there, and I had Mediavine, so I basically was like slamming my pages with all these ads. And then Amazon was starting to lose some steam, and I was thinking, well, why is this happening? Is it because of Mediavine? And then I was sort of studying Mediavine for a while, and then turns out that, for a while I thought, oh no, it's not Mediavine, because they have ways to calculate if Mediavine is interfering with your Amazon offered by Mediavine, which is a little bit biased, right? Because they're offering, tools to figure out if, if Mediavine is actually reducing your Amazon clicks, which they claim that it wasn't interfering in most cases, but you can just look at the page and realize that there's some interference going on. So, and everyone's trying to maximize their profits. So Mediavine's ads by nature are pretty aggressive. And if you have aggressive ads mixed with other sort of, more Amazon ads, and you just have this clusterfuck of ads, then at some point it becomes ineffective. So don't mix too many ads together. I'd say, like, don't overdo it with the ads, because that's fucked me before and it wasn't appreciated, because they both become sort of ineffective and you lose money at that point. So if you're lucky enough to have people traffic on your sites, then you don't want to fuck it up once you get them to your site by just basically like blasting them with tons of ads, which, if you know the internet, you know that it's basically an ad clusterfuck at this point. So spare people a little bit, and don't do that. And that way your Amazon ads will be more effective. That's what I've learned since the beginning, I guess, because it wasn't for a while that I had a ton of ads until recently in the past year. And then I kind of learned my lesson, because just watching the conversions and stuff, I realized that too many ads is probably not a good idea. But I guess the thing is, I'm not like an old school marketer. I've only been doing this for 5 years. So the length of time I've been on Amazon, or part of the Amazon program, is basically the length of time I've been doing marketing. So yeah, you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. But essentially, okay, just to wrap this up, because it's been going on for 26 minutes now. Holy shit. Basically, it's a good program and it's served me well. And I can't really complain about it too much, except for if I want to nitpick the shit out of it, I can. But I don't think it's entirely fair for me to just totally nitpick it, even though I already did. So there you go. It's already been nitpicked for you. And if you have any comments about your own experiences with Amazon, or you want to comment on one of my comments about Amazon, just leave it in the comments, and I'll catch you later.